We all know someone who's fallen, but there are ways that you can help prevent falls. Please stay tuned and listen to Real Possibilities. One out of 3 people over the age of 65 fall every year, and there are ways and things that you can do to help prevent your loved one from taking a fall. And to talk about that, we have 2 folks who are heavily involved, engaged in fall prevention. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Arena. Kayla, thank you so much for being here today. Let's first start by sharing with our audience, what is the Falls Prevention Coalition, Michigan Fall Prevention Coalition? I mean, I didn't even know there was a coalition for Michigan Fall Prevention. So share with the audience what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. The Michigan Fall Prevention Coalition was unofficially established in 2020. At that time, the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan was facilitating that group through a grant project, trying to bring individuals together with the goal of reducing fall risk among older adults. And now our coalition has just been growing further, and we were actually just recognized as an official coalition by the National Council on Aging just last month.
That's fantastic. So you've been working on this for a while.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about falls in terms of why it's an issue. Why do you even need a falls prevention coalition? Why is that even necessary?
Yeah, so falls are multidimensional, and the reality is we've all fallen when we were younger, but our bodies age and change, and there are many things that can certainly impact falls: our physical abilities, our environment, our health. And so because it is so multidimensional, it's very important that people know what their risks are and work to be preventatively addressing those things.
So how did you 2 get involved with falls? I mean, when you were 6 years old and someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, so probably when I was 6, I didn't know this, but by the time I was in high school, I knew I wanted to be a physical therapist and help people move. I love to move, and so that was certainly what brought me on that pathway. But how I got to this falls piece, I've worked many years as a clinician, physical therapist in the hospital and then in the home healthcare setting. And there were so many people I saw that had fallen and hurt themselves in different ways. And I always wished I would have been able to get to them just a little bit earlier, that maybe I would have been able to give them some tools to prevent themselves from falling. So as I've moved more into the academic world and had the opportunity to evolve different research projects, prevention has always kind of come to the forefront of the work I do. And so certainly fall prevention being a huge epidemic really amongst many Americans and worldwide has been part of what I've been interested in.
Thank you so much for following your passion and for doing that work. You know, we hear so many times, everyone's heard about someone that they love or care about having taken a fall. Sometimes it's preventable, sometimes it's not preventable, depending on their hips or arthritis or whatever might be going on. But we're talking today about falls that are, for the most part, preventable, what you can do to help that. Kayla, I know you have worked with AARP in terms of the age-friendly state for the state of Michigan. I think the first state in the Midwest to become age-friendly. How do falls relate to Michigan being an age-friendly state?
Yeah, the biggest way that fall prevention relates to that is when we think about age-friendly, a large aspect of that is maintaining independence as we age. And fall prevention is really just a key component of that.
And the Michigan Health and Human Services has been just absolutely wonderful in terms of making certain that people have information, that they know what's out there, and that Michigan, all of Michigan becomes age-friendly, not just a community here, a community there. Although we're happy with those communities, the entire state needs to adapt, because older adults, when they stay in their own community, they contribute to the economy, they contribute to the quality of the community that they're in. So we want them to stay in Michigan and not go to another place. So thank you for that work as well. So let's talk about preventing falls. What's the first thing that people should know?
Oh, there's so many first things people should know, but I certainly think understanding your own personal risk. And so certainly there's different healthcare providers and community resources to help identify that, and then trying to take action on those risks. But even just some of the basic things like exercising regularly, eating good foods are also part of helping to prevent falls. So it can just start as basic as just doing the right things that we all know we probably should be doing.
Now that's interesting, Dr. Anu, because people don't think about their food, their nutrition and related to falls, but it does in terms of calcium, bone health, et cetera, right?
Actually, yeah, absolutely. So, calcium with bone health, protein for muscle strength. And so if we're not eating enough proteins, our muscles will lose their strength and potentially not work in the way that we want them to maintain our balance so we stay upright.
And so what else do people need to know to help prevent falls?
I mean, Sarah really covered a lot of it. Other things that I think I would mention are things like medication management and home modifications, so that there's not objects in the way, so you can easily move about your residence. Again, going back to aging in place and maintaining that independence.
And so there are several different factors. There's sidewalks, right? If you're outside walking, making certain that the sidewalks are level and that you have the kind of support that you need. And they're the internal, inside your home. So talk about things that people can do inside their home right now to help prevent someone from falling.
Yeah, well, the one thing everyone always talks about is lifting the rugs up from the floor, right? I maybe have a little different approach on that. I think there are some good rugs. There are rugs maybe in areas that have high water, like right outside your shower. And as long as they're anti-skid, they actually may prevent the fall. So it's those rugs that move around and you could slide on or have the really deep plush. Another area I think we can really focus on is in the bathroom. That's a high risk area. So we really should all have a grab bar in our shower and in our bathtubs and in our bathroom, because any of us could slip in those areas with high water. And then certainly rails anywhere there's stairs, even one step getting in and out of your home is a really good spot for rails. And I might also mention a little bit of lighting. I think having night lights that are working correctly and good areas of light is a very important thing, so that we can see where the different areas of potential hazard are. That's
good advice. I travel quite a bit, and sometimes I'll take the little light, the motion light that you can plug in. So when you step up out of, because in different hotels, you're in 2 or 3 different hotels in 2 or 3 weeks, you forget the restrooms this way or that way. So that light comes on. But the lighting is something that people don't often think about as well. And the rails, you talked about the grab rails. There are different types. Now I've heard that some you don't want to use because they could slip or whatever, and others are more stationary. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, you really, it's how they're installed is really the key. You want to make sure they're not just like put in the wall, maybe like if you put in maybe where a towel rack would be, that really isn't usually secured correctly into the wall. So it needs to be in a good stud, or if you have a shower, it needs to be put in the right place so it's fully engaged in there and won't pull out if you were to fall.
Fantastic. And the coalition, people they've got all kinds of information, I'm sure, on preventing falls. So where can people get in more information? What should they do if they want to, as much as possible, because we know it's not foolproof, but as much as possible, fall-proof their home?
Yeah, so one of the wonderful projects that we've been able to work on together came about from a Michigan Health Endowment Healthy Aging grant. My colleague Chris Wilson and I at Oakland University were able to secure a grant to work with MDHHS and Michigan 211 with the Falls Coalition to create a resource page at MI 211, and it's within their fall prevention page. And there's 17 different areas of fall prevention that people can go in, enter their zip code, and we're right now curating all the different resources from around our state, looking at areas currently that maybe have some missing areas where we can reach out and get those items listed within the website. So that is actually one area that we've been working on together, and a place that we're hoping all Michiganders can go as a one-stop shop to find these different resources in their communities.
Prevention is the key. Kayla, anything you want to add to that?
No, Sarah, that's exactly what I would have said too. One of the goals of our coalition was to identify reliable fall prevention resources and programs, and to help people find those programs. And so this grant project that we've been able to work on with Oakland University and Michigan 211, it's really cultivating all of the programs, all of the resources in Michigan to be in one place, so that people don't have to wonder where they need to go. We've had so many conversations as a coalition about all the great things that are available in Michigan, but so many people were just not aware of them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would just highly recommend visiting that website.
We hear that over and over. People don't know how to even navigate the website to find the resources that they need, the resources that are there. but they aren't aware of them. That's one of the reasons we're doing this TV program, is to make people more aware of what resources are out there and how they can find those resources and what they need to do. When you talk about age-friendly, and you talk about fall prevention, the coalition and the resource, what are you seeing in terms of people in age-friendly communities or throughout the state? What are you seeing in terms of people being able to retrofit their homes so that they're not falling? Are you seeing people taking advantage of that? Are you seeing any numbers, any data that shows that when you do these things, it makes a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually had a really great opportunity at our last coalition meeting where her colleague, Dr. Chris Wilson, presented the data that we had from Michigan 211, and it really showed how many people were accessing the
Nice.
resource through 211. It showed areas where we were, where every single search was met, and areas where we were missing things. And so we were able to hone in on some of those things. But we know, just from all of the programs, how beneficial these programs are, and these best practices
Right.
too. A lot of the programs that we have on there are evidence-based, meaning they have been proven effective for the older adult population in preventing falls. So we know that they work through research studies that have already been conducted.
And that's so important for people to know that there are things that they can actually do. So don't just listen to this program and think, oh, that was good information, but do something. It'll make a difference. It can make a difference in someone's life in so many different ways. I want to talk about the external environment in a moment too, but talk about your collaboration, Oakland University and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. How did that happen?
Well, it really happened through this work with falls prevention and the Michigan Falls Coalition. It was originally started in 2020 through a grant that the Kidney Foundation had, but soon after, Kayla was involved through the MDHHS. And as Chris and I have developed our work in the falls prevention domain, we kind of naturally gravitated into the Falls Coalition. And as funding became available, it just became the obvious thing to work on.
Yeah.
I certainly hope that people are paying attention, that because falls, and it's not just the fall. Sometimes it's people have other health issues, right, that create the fall,
Yes.
or the fall then creates a health issue, one or the other. It's the chicken or the egg, which comes first, right? So anything they can do, whether if you have like bad knees or arthritis or whatever, making certain that your home is as safe as possible. So before we get to the external environment, talk a little bit more about, you talked about bars, handlebars, you talked about the rugs that don't move, that don't slip and slide back and forth. What else can folks do?
Yeah, so I'll share one thing people aren't aware that is a fall risk is urinary incontinence. And sometimes people just assume that's a natural part of aging, but our bladder and our ability to urinate and have different bowel movements and things are all muscles that are in our body. And sometimes muscles need strengthened and sometimes they need stretched. And so having people that can help guide you on that and actually realizing that that is also a fall prevention strategy is we shouldn't be just accepting that when we're rushing to the bathroom, we can have a fall. And so making sure we talk to our physicians about that, potentially meet with pelvic health
good.
specialists that are physical therapists and other disciplines to really address some of those issues. I would also say vision, making sure you're getting regular eye exams, knowing if your bifocals are making it more difficult for your balance. And so certainly some of those health things can really be an issue and something you want to address.
Yeah, that's very good. I was over someone's home recently and they said their 2-year-old grandchild and their 82-year-old father are missing the toilet. They're both. So she's constantly cleaning up, because one, they can't see, one's rushing, but that's something that people just say, oh, this is something I have to live with, but not necessarily. There are some things you can do to help. And I would imagine, again, the bathroom is probably the number one place in the kitchen. The bathroom and the kitchen are probably two places where people fall the most.
Yeah, bathroom is number one.
Number one, yeah. So having those rugs there, having the lighting, and then making certain you talk to, whether it's physical therapist or whomever your doctor about, because there are things you can do.
Absolutely.
See, people don't know that. They think this is just a part of it. And I hate it when you go to the doctor and they say, oh, well, they're just getting old. They're just aging. It's just a part of it. There are things that you can do. Your body doesn't have to completely collapse.
Yeah, and there are things that gets a little more difficult sometimes as we age, and we have to approach it a little bit differently, but different times in our lives require different approaches. And I think it's just part of the process, and accepting what we can change and making those efforts to make those change are important.
I like that.
One thing I would just add too, and you covered so many things, Sarah, but and I've actually heard you and Chris say this before, but color contrast is also really helpful in the home. You know, they've given examples where a bathroom maybe has white walls, a white shower, a white toilet, you know, everything like that. And that can be sometimes difficult to kind of discern some of those things and can cause a greater fall risk. And so having maybe just a little bit of color contrast either on the walls or again on a secure mat that's not going to move can really help with that too.
That's excellent advice. Yeah, because your eyes plays tricks on you in terms of depth and dimension and all that. Yeah, excellent advice. Okay, externally, these folks who are 50, 60, and 40, they want to go out for a walk. And again, I know so many people who love, older adults who love walking, but they have to go to a mall or somewhere where it's safe because they don't feel safe in their own neighborhood because of raised sidewalks or whatever. What should people know? What are some of the things they should be aware of as they walk outside or go for a walk outside of their home?
Yeah, well, and I love to walk outside my home, so this kind of fits my category now. And as I'll live in Michigan, we know the weather sometimes does not cooperate with us, right? So one thing I would recommend is always have a way to communicate with others if you're out walking by yourself. So I always make sure I have my phone with me, or making sure you have a watch that is able to contact others if there's an emergency. Certainly we would want the fall to never happen, but if it does, being able to get a hold of someone quickly is going to be very important. So bring your cell phone, have it charged, and have it with you on person when you're walking.
That's good advice regardless of where you are, right? If you're by yourself. What about those ring instruments, whatever they call them, the instruments where you can dial 911 or say I've fallen? Are those helpful as well? Or
yeah, absolutely. Some do require Wi-Fi within your home environment, so you need to make sure you're careful about getting one that can work off of a cell tower. So certainly some of the wearable technology. Absolutely, I think those are excellent ways, and they can detect a fall when that would happen and call 911 for you.
Yeah, I think those are great strategies. My mind immediately goes towards prevention, and things that I think about are wearing proper footwear, knowing where you're going to walk, and if there's lighting, if that is going to be a factor, kind of the route that maybe you're going to take. And another piece too is, again, kind of going back even further into prevention, is making sure that you're physically able to do the walk that you want to do. There's a lot of really great programs out there that help get people ready for things like that. So getting them moving, exercising, increasing that physical activity so that when you want to go out and just live your life, walk, things like that, you're able to do that at a safer capacity.
Absolutely.
Wonderful point that actually kind of brings us back to our 211 fall prevention resource pages. If you don't know where some of those places are, you could go on the website and put in your zip code and look for some of those exercise classes that could help prepare you for a safer walk, or one of the areas is walking programs.
Yeah, and many of them are available virtually as well. So even if you don't have access to transportation or you don't have one in your area, there's a lot of virtual programs as well. So there's really something for everyone.
And that's so important. We've got about a minute or so left, but that's so important because you want people to stay active. You want them to stay busy. You don't want them to feel like they're homebound and they can't move. But knowing how to move, where to go, making certain that you're connected, and that's true of any age, and make certain that you're connected, whether it's through a watch or through some kind of app that allows you to stay connected. And virtually, people can actually walk in their own home virtually with other folks. I love that. I absolutely love that. So the importance of walking, talk about that in the 45 seconds or so we've got left, how important it is that people continue to move.
Yeah, well, movement is probably the most important because people have different physical abilities. So we assume walking, but it may be other forms of exercise. It is recommended for our health to exercise about 150 minutes total a week of moderate physical activity. So get out and move and accumulate those minutes every day.
Can you do that all at one time?
You can do that all at one time. It's probably best if we space it out over the week, but you can do it all at one time if you got the 150 is all you have in your week. But I would say it's probably best to space it over time.
Yeah, and honestly, my favorite recommendation is actually to take it in smaller pieces. So maybe instead of doing, a whole hour, half hour on a day, maybe you're breaking that up into 15-minute increments throughout the day.
Yeah, just start, right?
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
get started. Just
Yes.
start doing something. Don't just sit down and make excuses. At least start doing something. I appreciate both of you so much in the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. We want all of Michigan to have the communities to be fall preventive. To prevent falls, that's what I should be saying. We want all of Michigan to do what they can to prevent falls for their loved ones, to make certain that people can age in place, age in their home, and age with dignity and respect. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
My mother always told me never to get in the car with strangers, but that's not true when it comes to CATA and the bus drivers, right?
That's not true.
Thanks for being with us today, Trista. Tell us a little bit about the drivers and the accessibility of the CATA vehicles.
So being in a wheelchair, you wonder how you can get in and out of things. They have buses that have a lift on them. The lift comes down, you ride right on, it puts you on the bus. They lock down your seat, even if you're in a manual wheelchair or a power wheelchair. Even if you use a walker, they can put the lift down and you can get on the bus. They have vans that do the same thing. And from what I understand, even the big buses, the line buses, lower down so that people in wheelchairs can get on. There's no reason to have to stay home. There's so much public access through CATA. The drivers are amazing. They speak to you most of the time. If you want to be a friend, you have to be friendly.
Right.
So when you get on the bus and you say hello and you remember to say please and thank you, you're treated very well. And like I said, they come to your house and get you. That alone is
Absolutely.
a plus,
Absolutely.
Everybody won't come to your house, or, they might make you go 3 or 4 blocks away, but they will come right to your door. They pick you up, they wait for you, and they bring you right back.
And a lot of people don't know that those services are available and that the drivers are as friendly and as helpful as they are. So it's good for people to know that. How many years have you been using CATA?
Almost 5 years.
Wow. And what advice would you give to people?
Try it. If you have not been on the bus, try it. You will love it, and you'll be on there every day like I am. Sometimes I go to 4 and 5 different places in a day. It's amazing.
No parking, no gas, none of that. So
No
thank
insurance.
you. No insurance. Thanks for being here with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have a question. Is there a way that you can unintentionally leave debt to your children? David?
Paula, the answer to that question is yes. Now, we're not talking about credit card debt or any other obligations that you own, that you owe to somebody. We're not talking about that. You can't leave that kind of debt to your kids. But there is a sneaky way that your kids wind up in debt because you were intending to do something very nice. So you put your kid, who's maybe got some financial issues, on your traditional IRA. They're the beneficiary, okay? You die, and oh boy, here goes a lot of money to the kid through the IRA. The problem is that when the kid gets the IRA, it's not protected. What that means is the kid's creditors, not yours, but the children's creditors can come and take away the IRA.
Oh, wow.
All of it.
All of it.
The whole IRA, depending on the amount of debt that the kid has. Creditors and predators. But here's the problem. The kid now owes income tax on the lump sum.
That they didn't even get a chance to use. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
And so they could have gone through bankruptcy and wiped out the debt. In fact, the Supreme Court case that decided this, that's what was happening. The kid was going through bankruptcy. He gets an IRA. He says, I don't want it. They say, you got to take it. And then the Supreme Court said the creditors can take away the IRA and leave the kid with the tax debt.
Oh, wow.
It's not a straightforward kind of thing, but it's terrible because it's not regular debt, it's tax debt, the
right.
worst kind of debt you can have.
Yeah, unintentional. Thank you, David. Good advice.
Hi, I'm Tracy Anderson with Impart Alliance at Michigan State University. Today I'm joined by Bethany Deiser. Bethany is the Assistant Director of Impart Alliance and also oversees the training program. Bethany, talk to me about some of the flexibility that people will find at Impart Alliance as far as training.
So we have tons of free training for direct care workers, and many people may have heard that direct care work is a huge opportunity. It is a growing sector of the workforce and of healthcare. There are so many different types of direct care worker jobs. It's a great job for people who are looking for part-time work in healthcare. It's a great full-time career as well. I have so many students that come to us because they are maybe studying for another degree or healthcare profession and want to get out into the field working and supporting people. I also have a lot of students who have done other roles throughout their lives and are looking for the rewarding experience of building relationships with the people they support and are becoming direct care workers as a part-time or retirement role.
A lot of opportunities with different pathways.
Yes, as more older adults are choosing to live and age at home, and as people with disabilities are able to live in the community and engage in community activities, there is a ton of work for the direct care workforce to get people into new positions and different roles to help people to stay in their home and to engage in their community. There's no one direct care worker job. There's a million.
Thank you, Bethany.
Of course.
You might have money, but do you have a financial plan, and do you need one? Henry, tell us why we do.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand where they are today and what does the projection look like for their retirement. Most folks believe that, oh, it only matters that my investments are invested. But really a financial planner helps make sure, okay, is that going to last at your current standard of living through the course of your retirement? And then, as we've kind of alluded to, what are the other aspects of your situation that could cause that plan to go awry? Income tax, long-term care, other needs, move from one state to another. A financial planner helps make sure they understand all the different aspects of your situation to make sure you can retire versus, oh, I'm just going to set assets aside or investments aside and get an income produced from them.
In this market, isn't it a little risky investing?
I don't know that it's any more or less risky today than it was yesterday, 5 years ago, or 10 years from now. The point of an advisor is to help you understand where things are at today and how to take the appropriate amount of risk, but also find positions where you don't need that level of risk.
So Henry, you would agree with me, it's probably more risky not to have a financial plan than to have an advisor help you with your financial planning.
Absolutely.
And so people, they want to find a financial advisor. What's the best way? What's the one thing that they should look for to make certain that they have a credible person?
Can you listen to the person that's giving you the advice, trust him or her, and make movement? It's not important that you implement everything that they say, but it is important that you have trust in the person sitting across the table with you.
Relationships. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
There was so much good information shared today. It would be a shame if you kept it to yourself and didn't share it with others. Thanks for watching Real Possibilities.